The ADHD label gets thrown around far too easily nowadays. Behavior that were once considered normal, especially in boys, are quickly pathologized and often medicated. While medication can be helpful in some cases, drugs like Ritalin come with real side effects, including appetite loss, sleep issues, and emotional blunting. In this episode, I'll also unpack the deeper, long implications of relying on these medications, conversations that parents are rarely invited into when making their decision. Something doesn't sit right for me about turning curious, energetic kids into quieter, more compliant versions of themselves just so they can sit quietly in the classroom. Today I'm sharing 10 parenting strategies to consider before labeling your child with ADHD. My name is Efrat Amira. I'm a mom of 3 boys, ages 4, 8, and 12. I'm a parenting coach, and I'm passionate about integrating ancient wisdom into the way that we parent our children today. If you enjoy this type of content, please press the like button below so others can find it as well. Now let's dive in. So as I was saying, the label ADHD has been thrown around very easily. If in the past, kids who were unable to sit still on their chair, were hyperactive, were impulsive, and weren't able to focus, was considered just normal kids' behavior. Today, we take those behaviors and we pathologize them, especially for boys. Now, there's a lot of controversy about ADHD, about what it is exactly and how we should treat it. One of the things that I think is not talked about enough about ADHD medication is that it has serious side effects, like decreased appetite, weight loss, sleep difficulties, but it even goes deeper than that. One of the biggest issues about ADHD medication is basically what it does is it interferes with the hormone production in your child's brain, with the production of dopamine and norepinephrine. Now, what this causes is that the child starts to become physiologically dependent on the drug. And when he stops taking it, suddenly those hormones are completely out of balance, and real-life challenges and real-life stressors start to feel very overwhelming for them. Another thing that isn't really talked about is that many times when children are prescribed Ritalin, they also are prescribed anxiety meds and depression meds. Now, the combination of all these 3 medications together is very hard to get off of, and therefore children start to be dependent on those drugs because without them, life just starts to feel too much, and they cannot deal with just regular emotions that arise in their bodies, and they feel like they need the assistance of these drugs in order to handle day-to-day life. So what I want to address in this episode is that maybe all this can be avoided, and this can actually be avoided by doing these 10 parenting strategies first before you decide that your child has ADHD and before you decide to take them and medicalize them. Now, if you do decide to do that, there is no judgment here. I don't have a child with ADHD, so I'm not in your shoes and I cannot tell you what to do. But what I am suggesting is that try these 10 parenting strategies first and then decide if you're going to the medical route. So the first strategy is to drop the label. If we put the label of ADHD on our children, we start to see every behavior as behavior that is related to ADHD. If they're running around, if they're screaming, if they're very emotional, if they're not concentrating, everything starts to seem like a big deal because it's under that ADHD label. But if you're able to drop that label, try it for a whole month, drop that label and start to see your child's behavior as normal, because most likely it is. Kids are very active. Kids are full of energy. It's normal for kids to need to run around and jump and not sit still. It's normal for kids to not being able to focus on something like reading, learning letters, learning numbers, something that they don't feel interested in. It's normal for kids to be overwhelmed by their emotions. Many of those behaviors are just normal kids' behaviors. So start by dropping that label and see if you can reframe your children's behavior instead of a pathology as normal. The second thing is watch their diet. Children's diet today is full of sugar and food coloring. Now, what are the side effects of eating too much sugar? Hyperactivity, irritability, mood swings, poor concentration, impulsivity, trouble sleeping, increased aggressive or defiant behavior. Does that sound like ADHD behavior to you? Because to me, it definitely does sound like that. So how can you watch their diet? Try to limit the sugar as much as possible. So what is sugary food? Sugary food is not only candy and chocolate. Sugary food comes in the form of sweet soda, apple juice, white bread, a lot of things that our kids are constantly consuming that are making them have these ADHD-like symptoms. So limit their sugar intake. Make sure they have a lot of protein and fat during the day, because that type of food is going to make them much more grounded and focused and being able to concentrate on things for a longer time. Number 3, watch their screen time. Screen time can impact those behaviors in different ways. If there are too many hours on the screen during the day, it may mean that they're not letting out enough energy that they need to. And when they're off their screen, they are very hyperactive. The second thing is, what are they watching on the screen? Maybe they're watching things that are causing dopamine spikes in their brain. And then when they get off the screen, they feel numb, lethargic, have bad mood swings, have hard time to focus, and just are not really motivated, which can look like ADHD as well. The third way that screens can impact these behaviors is that if they are used to soothing themselves by using a screen, meaning that every time that they feel overwhelmed with emotions, they are using a screen to calm themselves down. It means that they haven't established their coping mechanisms in order to deal with life challenges and life stressors that come their way. So when they're not on the screen, they get very overwhelmed with emotions. You can check out another episode where I talk about how to teach children real self-regulation. You can find that one up here. There is a ton of parenting information out there. Books, YouTube, podcasts, social media. But you know what's missing? What's missing is daily guidance. How to deal with the day-to-day situations with our kids when they're not doing their homework, when they're not cleaning the room, when they're fighting all day, when they're just not cooperative, when they're being bullied at school. Every day presents so many challenges as parents that we need to deal with on a daily basis, and many times it feels like we need to do it all alone. That is why I created the Parenting Wisdom community. In this community, you will get daily support from me, where you can post your questions, things that are troubling you in your parenting, and I will guide you step by step on how to deal with it. In addition, you're going to get monthly parenting workshops that are going to be exclusive to this group. Find all the details in the link in the comments. I hope to see many of you there. The fourth strategy is to get them playing outside more. So when they go outside and play in the fresh air, it makes their body healthier because they're moving their body, they're getting that physical activity, they're breathing the fresh air, they're dealing with different obstacles, they're strengthening their muscles, they're learning coordination. This impacts their sleep. They get better sleep after they're outside playing in nature. It lowers their stress, anxiety, depression, and aggression naturally. Outdoor time is known to improve concentration and reduce symptoms of ADHD specifically. It will boost their mood to be outside. So get them outside, playing as much as you can. The fifth thing is make sure that they get a good night's sleep. This is so basic, but so many kids are sleep deprived. And because they are sleep deprived, we are witnessing all these ADHD symptoms. So when a person sleeps good, they have better emotional and behavioral regulation. They are well rested and can control their emotions. They will have less tantrums. They will be less irritable. They will have more energy. Their mental health will be better. They will be able to focus more during the day. It reduces anxiety and depression naturally. So how many hours do kids need to sleep? Toddlers need to sleep between 11 to 14 hours a day. Preschoolers ages 3 to 5 need to sleep 10 to 13 hours a day. School-age kids ages 6 to 12 or 13 need to sleep 9 to 12 hours a day. Teenagers ages 13 to 18 need to sleep between 8 to 10 hours a day. Are your kids getting enough sleep. If they're not getting enough sleep, this is the first thing that you can correct in order to reduce the ADHD symptoms that you are seeing. The sixth parenting strategy is to have more structure during the day. Some kids need more structure than others because their brain is just more chaotic. But what kind of structure am I talking about here? I'm not talking about micromanaging every moment of our children's lives. That is completely not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about having a structured day where every morning, more or less the same things happen. Every day of the week, more or less there are same things that they can expect. Every evening, more or less you have some kind of evening routine, just so that they don't have to be occupied in what's coming next. Inside that structure, they need to have the freedom to decide for themselves how they want to spend that time. So I'm not talking about micromanaging every moment, but I'm talking about just a general structure during their day. This is especially important for younger children. The seventh principle is to give them more responsibility. It's actually incredible how ADHD kids have a hard time concentrating on something that they're not interested in or something that they feel that doesn't have any meaning for them. But once we put a responsibility on them, suddenly we can see, how much they are actually capable. So for example, if they are in charge of the dog in your house, it means that they can be in charge of feeding him, grooming them, taking them out for a walk, playing with them, cleaning up after them. It's a lot of responsibility to put on a child. And when you put the responsibility on them, you will suddenly see how much they actually are capable and how much actually they can do much more than you think when it's something that they care about, when it's something that is important to them. If that is the case, if they are able to concentrate, if they are able to regulate their emotions, if they are able to take responsibility over themselves in situations that they care about, it means that the problem is not in their brain, the problem is with the activity itself. And that's for a different point. Strategy number 8, give them a role. This is related to the previous point. It's amazing what children can bring out from themselves when we're giving them a role, when they are in charge of something and it's completely their responsibility. So different ideas can be, you are in charge of getting us out of the house by 8 a.m. every morning. You are in charge to get the playroom cleaned up. You are in charge to make sure that everybody is doing their homework. You are in charge of making sure that everybody is in their car with their seatbelts. Once we give them a role, we put them into that leadership place, and you will be amazed what are the things that can come out of your ADHD child. So try that. Let me know how it goes. Strategy number 9, and this is a little bit more tricky because not all the parents can do that, but consider switching them to another school environment. Now, I know this is hard and this is not accessible to everyone, but luckily today there are so many other options out there that are not only regular school or homeschooling. There are a lot of different micro schools, small schools that are much more attentive to children's real needs and let them be outside much more, let them learn in their own pace, let them learn when they're not sitting at the table and in just ways that are more suitable for the way that they need to learn. There are so many schools like that out there. I will link in the show notes a few schools that I have interviewed in this podcast that are incredible options for children. And if you search micro schools in your area, I'm sure you can find a few options, and many times they are more affordable than regular private schools. The 10th strategy that I want to suggest is to educate your teachers. If you're not able to take your child out of regular school, it's really important to understand that for teachers, it's hard to deal with kids that are wiggly in their seats, that are not able to concentrate, that maybe get emotionally overwhelmed very easily. It's not easy for them to deal with those children. So sometimes the easiest thing is to medicate the child in order for him to be able to sit still in class. But if you don't cooperate with that and you just ask the teacher to understand what your stance is and to understand that you are okay with that behavior and maybe try to come up with other ways to deal with this behavior, like giving him a role in class. That can be a very powerful tool the teacher can do, like getting the kids outside more, like maybe letting the kids walk around or stand during the class. There are different things that teachers can do, even in a regular school setting, that can help children who are having a hard time sitting still and focusing. So these were the 10 strategies that I wanted to offer that are in your control as a parent, that they are doable. It's not huge changes that you need to do in your life. And these little tweaks can really help avoid taking medication for a child that has a hard time to concentrate and still sit still in class, just because that is just a normal behavior. And if you can avoid labeling and medicating your child, it will be for the best for them. So let me know in the comments, which one of these 10 strategies can you start implementing in your children's life today? If you're doing all these parenting strategies, but you're still seeing ADHD behavior in your children, check out the interview that I had with Jill Krista, where she talks about mold, Lyme, PANS, and Pandas that are hidden diseases that sometimes cause those ADHD behaviors.